freaking first cut. Golly.
Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your round 2 recap for this week's AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Joining me to break it all down, Greg DuCharme is here. Greg, we're at the halfway point.
This is the halftime show. Pretty cool stuff. But boy, did this golf tournament change with the weather at the end of this day. It seemed like the last couple hours on this broadcast, the last couple hours of this day, it went from a complete birdie fest to a real struggle out there for a number of the players. And it looks like we're going to get something similar tomorrow. I know that's changing a little bit, perhaps not as bad as they originally expected, but we're going to get the full Pebble treatment tomorrow.
That's right. The forecast has been changing a lot. We went from potential 40-mile-an-hour winds, especially on Saturday. That is, it's not going to be great, but it does look like it's going to be better than that. Gusts in the 20 to 30 range, but we'll see where that ends up shaking out. Let's talk about golf courses, Greg, because we're done at Spyglass. We're headed back to Pebble Beach for the final 2 rounds. The first round of this event saw the guys playing Pebble Beach there on Thursday get about a stroke and a half better in terms of scoring average. And then in round 2, they were nearly identical. 0.2 of a stroke. That's close enough for me. So last week we saw the guys who had to play the North Course Friday kind of be on the wrong side of it. And this week we're seeing the guys that had to play Pebble on Friday be on the wrong side of it.
Yes. And look, this always happens when there's weather here. Spyglass it's much more consistent with its scoring averages. Right? As the wind picks up, you're in the trees a whole lot more, much more protected from the elements, where Pebble, you got a number of holes on both sides of the golf course where you're really exposed. And it makes a big difference. So the scoring average at Pebble Beach fluctuates with the weather a whole lot more than it does at Spyglass Hill. And it gives you the advantage today on the tougher day of the first 2. Well, you're on the golf course that's a little bit easier, relatively speaking. Now, it's still a difficult golf course, and the rounds at Spyglass Hill today that were played pretty well were impressive. But it's not as difficult as Pebble gets, just simply because it's not as exposed. But, I'm very curious to see how that shakes out, because there's going to be so much weather tomorrow. And you didn't necessarily get your full round in that kind of weather today at Pebble Beach. It looks like tomorrow you're going to. So you're going to have to golf your ball, and we're going to get a real good idea of who's got control of their golf ball at Pebble Beach tomorrow.
Well, I hate to start with negativity, but that's where we're going to start, Greg. Ludvig Aberg withdrew from this event prior to the second round. He shot a 77 on Thursday. He is still dealing with some flu-like symptoms that kind of ruined his chances to win at Torrey Pines last week, and reared their ugly heads again here at Pebble.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that he even played. I'm kind of surprised he didn't withdraw last week. I know he was in contention, which is probably why he didn't, and I give him a lot of credit for that. But clearly still feeling under the weather. And for him to shoot 77 yesterday, we know that's not Ludvig. So hopefully he can get some rest and get past this thing so we can see him in contention in tournaments. Remember, last year he came in second in this event, and it was rain shortened. So he was in prime position to earn a victory last year in this golf tournament. So, yeah, we got to get Ludvig healthy before we make any assessments on where his actual game is.
Flashing us back to last year is a really good segue into some of the players who are not playing so hot at the halfway point, Greg. All of these names sitting outside the top 50 through 2 rounds. Remember, this is now a 79-player field. There is not going to be a cut made this week, so they'll get 2 more rounds, but they're on the wrong side of it right now. Let me know which one of these is most interesting to you here. Tommy Fleetwood in a tie for 56. Jordan Spieth, T62. Max Homa's struggles continue. T66. Will Zalatoris, T70. Our defending champion, the man who was the beneficiary of that rain-shortened Pebble Beach Pro-Am last year, Wyndham Clark, is 1 shot out of dead last. He is in 78th, Greg. So a lot of names that have become household names are on the wrong side.
I look at the guys like Tommy Fleetwood and perhaps even Jordan Spieth, who is the most interesting. Guys that are around 3 under or so, while they're well down on the leaderboard, it's not necessarily a sign of terrible play. You get into some of these events where you got to go make a ton of birdies, and they didn't do that yesterday. It's not necessarily a bad thing. You go shoot 71 today. That's very understandable. In this second round, it's not the end of the world. For Wyndham Clark to go shoot 73, 74 is a little bit concerning, especially when you look at how he did it, specifically yesterday, right? Yesterday at Pebble Beach, it was so gettable, and he put 7s on the scorecard, right? 4 birdies, which, that'd be a nice amount for you and I, but it wasn't great yesterday, considering that scoring average was nearly 4 shots under par. So the 2 7s come from wild shots, missing the green 60 yards offline. Is a little bit concerning. So looking at his iron play, lost 5 strokes approaching the green yesterday, lost another 2 today. He's losing nearly 7 strokes for the week approaching the green. That's the area that makes Wyndham tick. When that's good, he contends. When it's not good, well, this is the kind of stuff you can get. So that's very concerning.
Wyndham Clark continues to subscribe to the Ricky Bobby school of golf. If you ain't first, you're last, which seems to be the 2 places that he likes to be on the leaderboard.
It's not a bad way to be, because when he gets in the mix, he can be first.
Yes.
You're not always last. So look, I'm sure that Wyndham will be fine, but this is definitely not the performance he was hoping for.
Let me get you up to date on a couple of the bigger names that are not necessarily in the mix, maybe in the mix adjacent. Let's start with Scottie Scheffler, obviously the #1 player in the world, returning to golf for the first time since undergoing the hand surgery for an incident that occurred on Christmas Day. He opened up his 2025 with a bogey on the 10th hole. He bogeys his first hole. Disaster. He ends up shooting a 67. That was 5 under yesterday. Follows it up with a 2 under round of 70. The highlights, Greg, are going to be the 3 birdies that he made on 6, 7, and 8 today. But the actual highlights that you see on television will probably include him playing from the rocks and the beach on 18. Still made a par there. But he did play his final 10 holes in the second round at 1 over.
Yes. And look, this is part of this story is what happens with the weather. So it gets a whole lot more difficult. What's concerning or what was disappointing about this round is the shot into number 11, right? He's got a wedge shot of 80 some yards and shanks it into the bunker or makes his lone bogey on the day. Very uncharacteristic, but it becomes very problematic when the conditions get difficult, and some of those holes on the back 9 that are a little shorter, a little more accessible, it gets really hard to get it close to the hole because of the conditions. So you don't have the opportunities to make so many birdies coming down the stretch as you did, say, in round 1 at Pebble Beach. The other thing about Scottie's round today is he didn't take advantage early. The story at Pebble Beach is you go get the first 6. Maybe you add 7 in there, but you're fine with 3 at 7. You just want to hit that green. When you get the first 6, maybe you call it 7. You hang on in the middle, and then you got a couple of more birdie opportunities coming down the stretch with 14 to 18. You got a couple more opportunities. Scottie doesn't get the first 6, so it takes him a little while to get into this round, and then he starts hitting it close. Right at 7 and 8, he hits it really close, and things are looking good. He even gives himself a good look at 10, and again at 11. This is an opportunity for him. Probably more often than not, he's going to make birdie from there after that tee shot, and he makes bogey, and then things kind of sputter out. So it was disappointing. It was really close to a really solid round. If he makes birdie at 11 instead of bogey, shoots 68. That becomes a really good round, and he's in a really good position heading into the weekend. Now he's not out of it by any means, but he's pretty close to out of it.
He is right on the line of out of it. Odds makers haven't given up on him yet. it would require 2 really low ones on the weekend, but if anybody can do it, it's Scottie Scheffler. He's in a tie for 20th. He's 7 shots back. We'll talk about his odds and his chances at the end of the show. I'm going to, Greg, get us updated on the guys who are closer to the top of the leaderboard. We will go through those odds, but I think this is a perfect time to take a break and hear a quick word from our partners.
Gives it to Jenkins for the championship. A 16 beats a 1. From sweet to elite to the Final Four.
And we're back. Greg, I've got so many big names that I want to talk about here who were in the mix or are currently in the mix. Let's start with Viktor Hovland, who has been very critical of the state of his game. However, he shot a 65 on Thursday. He followed it up with a 2 under 70 for this round here on Friday. If you look at his stat profile, inside the top 25 in both of the ball striking categories, right around the middle of the pack around the green, a little bit of a loser there. And then he's picked up about a stroke on the putting surfaces over 2 rounds. Viktor is inside the top 10. He is in a tie for 9th, as he heads back to Pebble Beach, which is a golf course that he's had quite a bit of success at.
Yes. Low amateur in the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach.
He won his amateur here too, right?
I believe that's right.
No.
Won the U.S. Amateur here. Yeah, so very interesting. In round 1, if you listen to him after, he gave himself a lot of wedges and hit some good wedges into the green. I just can't get over how good of a golfer he is. Like he's clearly got some things going on. He's not happy with the state. He doesn't like where his game is, and he's still able to shoot 65, right? Things go his way. I get wedges. Oh, I hit it close. I make, and there's another birdie. But it doesn't feel right. You know, it's a really funny place to be in. And it just speaks to how good that general baseline is. And I wish in many ways that he would embrace that a little bit more. At least publicly, you go behind the scenes and do your work, but realize how good you are, and you don't need a total makeover here. You don't need to rework things. You know how to hit a cut. You know how to hit a draw. You don't need to be thinking 20 years down the line right now, because these kind of scores are available. So that mindset is a fascinating one, and I don't have an answer on it. So again, you think, Rick, he wins the Tour Championship, leaves Joseph Mayo saying, I didn't feel like it was going to last. It's like, I know I was playing great. It's the best golf of my career, but I didn't think it was going to last. Well, the best golf of your career probably isn't going to last. So it's just a fascinating mindset to be in. And now he heads into the weekend here in the mix, right? He's at 9 under par, 5 shots off the lead, very much in contention, and the weather's going to get crazy. Now, sometimes for a guy that's not feeling great about their game, bad weather can be a good thing. Right. You got to get out of the technical world and hit some shots and grind it out. So there's definitely a world where this turns out to be a really good week for Viktor. Now, the one positive thing I'll say, I don't want to be too hard. I'm not trying to be hard on him. It's fascinating to me. And these are the thoughts running through my head. The other thing is he says it doesn't mean I can't have a good round or a good week. I'm frustrated about long-term stuff. So maybe he feels better than he says. Maybe he's more confident than it sounds like when he's in front of a microphone. Can you be frustrated and be really good at something? Yeah. But it's a hard one to, if it took away his words, I'd be feeling pretty darn good about Viktor Hovland heading into the weekend. Yeah,
he's an interesting cat. He is always, the brain is always moving, and he's moving up the leaderboard going into the weekend. So he is in a tie for 9th. He is currently 5 shots off the lead, and I do think it's interesting. I think he's an X factor for the weekend. I don't know what's going to happen, and I love that. And we're gonna find out. Now, Both Shane Lowry and Rory McIlroy made aces in the opening round. They did them on different holes at different golf courses, but the same result. Let's start with Rory McIlroy because he entered the day at 6 under par and got off to a very fast start here, Greg. It was 4 birdies in his first 7 holes, the blueprint that you described. Go out and get the first 7 at Pebble Beach and then see what you can do from there. For Rory, it wasn't very good. Bogeys on 12, 13, 16, and 17. Frustration certainly starting to come through on the broadcast. Now, he did close with an eagle, which is just, every time you think Rory's done, he reels you back in. Vintage McIlroy stuff here to get from even par to 2 under there just as he closes out this round.
On this front 9, he did something that he didn't do very well in the opening round. You look at his par 5 performance. He was 1 under on the par 5s, but was around the green in 2 on all 4 of them. In fact, on 2 of them, he was on the green in 2 in round 1 and 3 putted both of them. So he ends up walking away with par. There was one he had a bunker shot that was doable that he wasn't able to get up and down. Well, he hits the green on 2 and 6 in this round and has nice looks at eagle and converts easy 2-putt birdies. That's a great sign. He hit some great wedge shots, knocking it in there close. And then things just get a little sloppy for him. You think he drives it into the fairway bunker at number 13 and fats it out of there. That's an uncharacteristic shot from Rory. At 17, that he comes up. I know that a lot of this is wind. A lot of guys were coming up short, but he came up like 40 yards short. He barely made it to the fairway in the front right portion of that green. So he wildly misjudged the win there or missed the strike. And these things just kind of pick away at you. Even at 14, he goes for the green in 2 and misses it wildly to the left, and you're not in a position where you can get it up and down from there. So it just got away from him a little bit. But the saving grace is the eagle on 18 because it keeps him in touch. He gets shoots around a 70, which is respectable. It just feels like after a lot of really good ball striking shots, a lot of really good wedge shots, some sloppy ones coming in cost him.
Collin Morikawa had an interesting round, Greg. I'm obviously going to frame this as a positive. He shot a 5 under 67. He moved up 23 spots on the leaderboard. He's currently in a tie for 13th, but man, what could have been? He was also shot out of a cannon. 3 birdies in his first 5 holes, and he hits the green in 2 on number 6. He's about to put a birdie streak on the board. 3 putts later, including a miss from 4 feet. That is just a par. He also makes a par on 14, the second easiest hole of the day. He makes a par on 18, not the easiest par 5 in the world, but playing under par. He would add circles on 13 and 15, so it's a bogey-free 67. Could have been a bogey-free 64.
Very easily. These are the kind of things that happen with our ball striking friends. This is why we love the ball strikers, because you can have those mistakes that just make you grit your teeth and he's thinking about him tonight. But at the same time, you shoot 67. You hit 16 of 18 greens. You're 7th you're 7th for the day approaching the green and looking really, really solid with your iron play. And it's the putter that lets you down. I mean, 30 putts. He hasn't made over 75 feet of putts in any round so far. I think it's going to be really difficult to get the putter rolling over the weekend too. So that ball striking could really come into play, but it's clear Collin Morikawa is in a much better position than he was this time last year, and is trending in the right direction toward a win.
I'm ready for it. I've been ready for it. I remain ready for it. So yeah, I mean, obviously it was a very good round from Rory, but he's right there with Rory McIlroy in a tie for 13th. Let's continue up the board. I mean, there's so much to get through. I will do this. I'm going to pat myself on the back and I'm going to pat you on the back because they are both tied for 9th. Lee Hodges and Lucas Glover, who were 2 of the cheaper fantasy options this week. I believe 6,300, 6,100 or 6,200,
62 and 61.
Yep. They are both inside the top 10 for Lucas Glover, 66, 69 for Oh, for Lee Hodges, same thing. So they are just in tandem this week. So
Yes.
let's go, boys. Let's go.
Yes, very curious to see how they perform over the weekend in the conditions, specifically Lee Hodges. I probably feel a little bit better about Lucas when it gets a little windy and nasty. And I loved what Lee Hodges did yesterday, leaning maybe a little bit on short game. Is that going to hold up when the conditions get really bad? I can't wait to see. But it all in all is good stuff. And if you played either of these guys in your fantasy lineup, or perhaps both, you're a happy camper.
Happy camper indeed. Now, I want to get to the podium here. We've got two tied at 11 under par, and then we've got our leader at 14 under. So that's a multiple shot lead. Let's start with Cam Davis. I haven't talked about Cam Davis probably yet in 2025. He goes 65 on Thursday, 68 on Friday. He bookends his round. So his second round, he chips in for eagle on number 1, and then he makes bogey on 18. A lot of good stuff in between there. But Cam Davis, who has 2 wins on the PGA Tour, they are both at Detroit Golf Club. This is about as opposite of a venue of Detroit Golf Club as I could imagine. He's in the mix heading into the weekend.
Well, there are many Mondays we talk about this, Rick. Cam Davis, while the Rocket Mortgage is a place that he wins at, he plays really well on these positional golf courses.
Yes.
It may be surprising. So sometimes these shorter, less driver dependent venues work out better for him. And it's hard to say better because he does so well at the Rocket Mortgage, seemingly winning there all the time, but he does very well on these golf courses as well. There's a huge Cam Davis right now. This is the model for the weekend. If you're Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Collin Morikawa, if you're any of these guys that are 6-7 shots off the lead, you need a Cam Davis type round in this aspect. He's 9 under on the par 5s. He's played 8 of them. He's 9 under. He's made 1 par and 2 eagles. That is going to be the key if you're going to go shoot 65 in really windy conditions. If you're 7 back and you're going to make a charge on Saturday, you have to take advantage of all the par 5s. Right? You got to play them. You got to play them like 4 under par. And if you could do that, now you can pick off. You get a wedge downwind and like a Scottie Scheffler kind of model where, well, we'll just pound greens, pound fairways. That works if you make 4s on all the par 5s. Then all of a sudden you can get back in the mix. So like he's 11 under par for the tournament. He's 9 under on the par 5s. Mm-hmm. If you played an 8-hole stretch in 9 under at any point in the first 2 rounds, you'd expect to be near the lead, no matter what you did on the other holes. So it's been really impressive for him. It's made this easy. He's clearly hitting the ball very well. He's hitting a bunch of greens in regulation, 14 in round 1, 15 in round 2. Cam Davis is looking pretty sharp.
Our first round leader was Russell Henley. He played Spyglass Hill on Thursday. He played Pebble Beach today. He goes 64, 69. It was steady Eddie through the first 9 for Russell, 1 under par. And then the back 9 was a little bit of a psycho scorecard. It was actually the front 9 of the golf course, the back 9, his second 9. So he finishes up on the front 9 at Pebble Beach. Par, birdie, par, birdie, birdie, bogey, birdie, bogey, par. Added up, it is 69. Now, Greg, I want to point out one thing. His opening round, where he led the field in total strokes gained, he lost a half a stroke on approach. He was much more Russell-esque in the second round, gaining a stroke on approach. So this has kind of been a weird situation for him this week, not always playing to his strengths, but he is going to enter the weekend in a tie for second.
When he lost a half a stroke in the opening round, I don't think that it was poor iron play by any stretch. He hit a lot of really good shots. He hit 14 greens, and he hit it. It was like, well, he's hitting his wedges to 17 feet instead of, 7 feet. That kind of a deal. He still gave himself very makeable birdie putts. He just wasn't stuffing it in there. He didn't hit any really great, spectacular shots, but he didn't hit any bad ones either. And I thought that was Similar case today. In the second round, he probably hit more higher quality shots, but had the issues at 6 and 8 where he hit very poor shots. So an interesting position for him. I think his game's in a really good spot. He's very steady. He took advantage of, the first 5 holes at Pebble Beach. I know they were on his second 9, but he still gets through 5 at 3 under par. And then just an uncharacteristic mistake at 6 where he drives it in the bunker, has to kind of pitch out his third shots from the lower tier, then misses that way left. Those are rare occurrences for Russell Henley. So you got to feel really good about where he is with his game. The other thing that he did really well today was he made a lot of really nice par putts, and he hit a lot of really good wedge shots into birdie and missed all the birdie putts until his second 9. So it's just kind of funny how that all panned out.
The man they all chase, who is currently in a 14 under par, might look familiar at the top of the leaderboard because, Greg, he won his last start. I'm referring, of course, to Sepp Straka. Now he goes and starts this tournament 65-65, which includes 8 birdies on the day around Pebble Beach today, offset by just 1 bogey that came at the 16th hole. I see a confident golfer who is excelling in all facets of his game, who looks like he's playing with house money right now, going into the weekend 3 clear of his next closest chaser.
We got a new nickname, I think, that was born today. It's Stripe Show Step.
Oh, Sepp Straka.
Sepp Straka. Yeah, there you go. I mean, this was spectacular. In his first 9 holes, he was inside of 15 feet 7 times. He had birdie putts inside of 15 feet 12 times on the day. When he got to the back 9, where it's a little more exposed, he wasn't quite hitting it as close, but gets both the par 5s, hits a nice wedge into number 11 as well. But this was a 65. You look at Collin Morikawa, he missed a couple of 8-footers for birdie as well. I mean, this could have been 63, 62 pretty easily. It would have taken a spectacular putting performance, but he lost strokes putting, lost a half a shot putting. So he gave himself so many great high quality birdie looks. This is how Scheffler hit the ball all year last year. And this is like a problem. This is a problem for the rest of the field because this guy is absolutely flushing it right now.
Yeah. And the big problem is, and no offense to any of these guys, but this is not Scottie Scheffler 3 shots back. These are the closest chasers. Russell Henley, Cam Davis, Tony Finau, Andrew Novak, Tom Kim, Justin Rose, Austin Eckert, Lee Hodges, Lucas Glover, Eric Cole, Viktor Hovland. That's everybody within 5 shots. I don't think there's some wild closer in that group that I would be afraid of if I was Sepp Straka.
No, you have very good, capable, confident players,
of course,
right? But they're all on his plane. They're all his like the Sepp Straka. This leaderboard is like our guys.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? It's like they're 8,200 on DraftKings, and we love what we're seeing. They were 60. They were min price. They're playing really well. They're 8,200 on DraftKings, right? That's kind of what this next level is. And below that, the upper echelon is 6, 7, 8 shots back, and that's where I think there's a really big advantage. So if you're Sepp Straka and you're looking at this leaderboard, is he playing with Henley tomorrow?
I was just going to look that up. I was just thinking, I will find out for you.
If they're going twosomes, I think he will play with Henley.
Okay. I have it right here. Yes. The 10:35 tee time off number 1 is Sepp Straka, Russell Henley, Cam Davis.
Oh, it's threesomes. Okay.
Yeah.
So you got to, that is an extremely comfortable pairing for all of those guys. You got 2 Georgia guys and Cam Davis, who could get along with anybody. and a beautiful golf swing to watch. That's just fantastic for him. So, and he's got a 3-shot lead. He can go into a little bit of with the way this weather is, he can go play a 4-corner stall kind of game. He can lean on this ball striking, and he doesn't have to get hot anymore. The guys behind him are going to have to get really hot on a day that's really hard to get hot. And they're going to have to hope that Sepp makes a mistake. And he can play, as he showed us many times, he can play that mistake-free kind of golf. It's interesting. He's won a lot of tournaments. He won the John Deere Classic and the Amex, which are complete shootouts. But I think Sepp plays better. I've spoken to his caddy about this too. His caddy says that the harder, the better for Sepp. So this gets tough. He's going to be tough to catch.
Odds makers like his chances of getting it done. He is 3 clear and he is plus 280 to win this golf tournament. Russell Henley, 10-1. Scottie Scheffler, they're not letting Scottie get too far down the board. He's 11-1. He's 7 back. Rory McIlroy, 14-1. Tom Kim is 16. Greg, you said you liked the way Cam Davis is setting up. He's 3 off the lead. He's in the final group on Saturday. He is 18-1. Not a lot of respect from Vegas there.
No, that's probably where you go if you're looking at the odds, because he's so close and he's so good. He's won on tour before. You can't go with Scottie now, right?
No, you can't. You can't.
I'm not ruling him out, but I think if for Sepp Straka, is he going to shoot? I don't think he's going to go shoot 75. Right? I could see him shooting 72 if it's really, really tough tomorrow. I could see a 72 out of Sepp. Now you still got to make up 7 shots in terrible conditions over the weekend. What kind of charge is going to be available to these guys? I don't know if that's really there tomorrow. So that worries me. So that puts Cam Davis way up the board. And I've changed my tune a little bit because he's 7 back, but somebody asked me on Twitter about Scottie. Like, why do you recommend Scottie when his odds are 3-1? Do you take that into consideration, or is this how you'd actually bet? Well, since he went to the Mallet Putter last year, he's won 9 of 16 events.
That's stupid.
It's stupid. I had to look this up to make sure. So he won 9 of 16 events, including the Hero and the Olympics. So, and some of those were come from behind. He was way back at the Players. He was way back at the Olympics. And over 72 holes, he's really hard to beat. I worry about Sepp. I worry about the number of players that are in between he and Scheffler. Right? There's 19 guys. There's 19 guys ahead of him on this board. That includes Justin Thomas, Rory McIlroy, Collin Morikawa. I know they're way back, but Patrick Cantlay, Shane Lowry, Viktor Hovland, Lee Hodges, right? All these guys, all these big names are right up there in between Sepp Straka, who looks unbeatable, and a Scottie Scheffler. So I'm trying to hang near the top of this board right now. I really Cam Davis at 18. That is too long.
I believe I'm in agreement with you. He checks off a lot of boxes here. He is losing strokes putting. He is a multiple time winner. He's in the final group and he's only 3 back. So he might just go win it. If Sepp comes back a little bit, that helps him. Some guys need both of those things to happen. Like Scottie might need to be the best guy on the weekend and get help from Sepp. Cam Davis, Russell Henley, they don't need both of those things to happen. They only need one of them.
Yeah, that's well said. Well said.
Before we get out of here, can I remind you of the greatest bet that I've ever made?
Please.
It was about this time last year. It was Saturday evening. The forecast is looking horrible for Pebble Beach all Sunday, all Monday, all Tuesday. They are just calling for buckets of rain and wind and nastiness. Wyndham Clark is on the green on 18 and he is like plus 180 to win the tournament. And I'm like, he's going to lead after 3 rounds. And there's no way they play the rest of this event.
I remember this.
So I click his name, fire that up. And a lot of people did too. So I tweeted it out. I was like, I think he just won this golf tournament. And a lot of books. So a lot of it depended on when you made the bet. If you made the bet while the round was still going on, which I think I beat by like 3 minutes, every one of those books honored it. If you put it in after the round, some books paid it out, but some said our house rules say like golf has to be played after you place your bet. You can't just place a bet when the tournament's over.
Right.
But that was like the greatest win of my life. Literally no sweat. Literally no sweat.
You just figured it out.
Yeah. I'm just like, I don't need to be do you remember the forecast was so bad for like the next week?
Weatherman Rick.
Rick weather
awesome.
Good. Yeah.
These weather weeks are really good for stuff like that. Typically, because I think my best ever was John Rahm at the halfway point at Olympia Fields in the playoffs a number of years ago. He was like way back, teeing off early. And was like, he's going to go shoot 66 tomorrow, get right back in this tournament. Greens are going to firm up. Afternoon guys are going to struggle. It happened. He ended up beating DJ in a playoff. And that was taking advantage of the conditions during the day. There was I believed, a huge advantage in the morning. There was. But the problem this week is I don't think there's a big advantage for the morning.
Yeah, I don't either.
If it was going to get bad late, and it was going to be okay early, this would be Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, because there's so many guys, they're going to be teeing off way earlier. Now it becomes a huge advantage, but I don't think there's that. I don't think that advantage is there, and I don't think it's going to get canceled. I don't think there's any cheat codes for us this weekend.
No, we're just going to have to bet Cam Davis and watch him go win this golf tournament.
Yeah.
That's what
Let's
I guess
go, Cam.
is going to have to happen. Okay, we'll be back when this thing is over. We will know the winner when we're back on Sunday night. For now, big thanks to producer Debo doing all the hard work behind the scenes. Thank you very much. Greg DuCharme is available at The Real GFD. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.